Of all those different resource types, only one of those is not renewable. Which one's that? Time, right? Can't get more. If you figure out how to do that, that's great. But it's not going to happen, at least not in our lifetimes. So my dad used to say, tempus fugits, tempus fugit, time flies, Latin. You can buy other people's time, others can buy your time. As I said, you can't buy more time for yourself. And so when you're younger, what do? We spend all of our time trying to make more money. Then when you get older, you find out that you're willing to spend all of your money for just a little more time. And the people who go kicking and screaming at the end of their life are those who never lived their lives well. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas. If you live a good life, if you've done all the stuff that you planned and you made it purposeful, it's okay at the end. You got it all done. But I found in life that there's three things that'll hold you in place as you go through life. And one of them is a job. Most of us have jobs, right? Jobs? Anybody looking for a job? Okay, people with their hands up. Look around to the people who don't have their hands up. Go make friends. Seriously. Because jobs are going to tie. And once you got a job, and they say, hey, I need you to be here Monday through Friday, can you just like take off and go wherever you want? Well, not if they need you there. So a job's going to tie you down geographically. Relationships are going to tie you down. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily, but there's a sacrifice. You can't necessarily come and go as you please. I travel a lot. My flight here to San Diego, that was my 94th flight this year. So I'm on track to go over 100 again. And my wife tells me I'm just too cheap to get a divorce because I'm gone all the time. But it works. We've been married 20 years. But that relationship will hold you in place. And a home or house. Particularly now where it's almost impossible to get a new mortgage. You're stuck kind of where you're at. So you find that a job, relationship, and house, sometimes in your life, all three of these degrees of freedom will align. Like tumblers in a lock, click, click, clunk. But that's not very often. The first time they usually align is when you're 18, you're heading off to college or off to get a job, or your parents kick you out of the house or whatever. You're not tied down by a job because you probably don't have one or nothing serious. You're going to split up with your high school sweetheart and go off to some university someplace in the other part of the country, and then go live in a dorm or go live in an apartment. You've got all those degrees of freedom right then and there, but what are we doing with that? We're typically going ahead and we're plugging right into the track that's been programmed for us. But wait, it gets good because 4 years later, you pop back out. Or maybe 5 years later if you did a lot of drinking. And so now, it's great, you're free, you can do anything you want. So what do? Move back home until 3 years later, your parents kick us out of the basement. And you got another opportunity for these degrees of freedom. But then for a lot of people's lives, these things locked down. And they stayed locked down for years and years and years until finally your last kid's off to college. They move out of your basement after they finish their college. And then you think, honey, we finally got something, okay? And then you retire at whatever age. I guess mine now is 66 years, 8 months, according to the Social Security Administration. But then what? How often do these things align? Because these are what I call your magic moments. You see them rarely, if ever, but some people take them for granted. I know people, they've had this freedom going for a long time. Still living at home, not really doing a job, partying with their buddies, playing music, drinking beer, whatever. Well, that's great, but you've got this whole open field. All the locks are open, all the lights are green, and you're sitting there with the engine off, listening to the radio. You could be going anywhere you want. What are you waiting for? Because if you don't seize it, time is going to sneak up on you like a windshield on a bug and smack you in the back, and then all of a sudden, click, 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 you're locked down. So you've got in life these invitations to freedom. Are you ready for it? Are you prepared for it? Have you got a plan that when that last tumbler clicks open, you break it out and you go do it? Because if not, they're going to come back and they're going to tie you down. And for months and probably years, you're locked down again. And you can't turn the clock back. The truth will set us free, right? So what do we need to go ahead and not get caught in the trap? We want information. We want to learn as much as we can that'll help us. But you need more than just information. We all know Moore's law, right? Density of transistors doubles every 24 months. And so by corollary, computing power doubles about every 18 months. Well, I've told people for years Gmark's corollary to Moore's Law, which is half of what you know about security will be obsolete in 18 months. Think about it. How many Windows 7's machines were there 18 months ago? Or iPads. Okay, or you roll back 3 years, iPhones. Even a year and a half ago, Windows Vista. How many people wish they didn't have Windows Vista 18 months ago, right? So we find out that the generations of technology change so quickly that in all probability, the #1 social networking site 3 years from now probably doesn't even exist today. Wow. So this is going very, very fast. So as the world is going faster and faster, we gather all this data, and there's a huge amount of data out there. And you could just wallow in it, but if you can go ahead and come up with the relationships among the data, you can start to build patterns of information. And if you get the information and you assign patterns to them, and now I've gone ahead from just a whole bunch of web browsers to information where I can actually go write a paper, I could read a book, I've got something that consolidates it, I extract from that knowledge. Great, I know something. I can apply this information to my life, to my job, to my family, to whatever. And a lot of people stop there. But there's one more step, and that's wisdom. And wisdom is applying the principles to your knowledge so you make the right decisions a lot more often than wrong. They say, where does good judgment come from? It comes from making mistakes. You don't make mistakes, you have good judgment. Why do you have good judgment? Well, because you made mistakes. And it's a cumulative process in life, but it takes time. And it doesn't always yield the results that you want when you want it. So on what level are you operating? Honest assessment. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because you probably won't tell me anyway. Are you really somewhere down in level 2 or 3 or 4? And do you have a plan to get to the next level? Because life gets a whole lot more exciting and a lot more interesting when you're doing that stuff up there. Remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs from your psychology class? Self-actualization. Some of us are down here in the survival mode or living paycheck to paycheck. Instead of doing what Johnny is, Johnny takes his family, heads off to Uganda. He's making a huge impact on hundreds of people. Who else has who here has the courage to just pick up everything and go over to the middle of Africa, take your wife and your kids because you believe so passionately in what you're doing? He knows what he's doing. We talk about wisdom, but where's wisdom come from? Can I get 100 cc's of wisdom with my flu shot? Where's it coming from? You talked about one thing, right? Mistakes, right? Where else can wisdom come from? Somebody else's mistakes. Okay, so we watch that, and that's kind of wisdom in itself, right? But are there other people who are kind of in the business of trying to, or want to help you from avoiding that? And those are folks that we call mentors. All right? What's a mentor? Heard the term. A mentor is somebody who has the wisdom, probably because they made the mistakes, they have the experience. They're in your line of work or you're in line of life, and they care about you, okay? I can't go to Barack Obama and say, hey, I want some advice. I'm thinking about running for office for my local homeowners association. He's probably a great mentor for politics, but he doesn't care about me, doesn't know me from anyone. So that's not going to work. I can't pick him as a mentor. And when you pick a mentor, when you pick somebody to say, help me out, what's the risk for the mentor? What if you don't do so hot? What if you don't follow through? What if you don't execute? And then that mentor is sitting around with all his other friends saying, man, don't go talk to this person because everybody that talks to them ends up burning out or not doing well. So the mentor's got skin in the game as well, and that's why you've got to really be sincere. You've got to get your act together. You can't just walk up with your pockets empty to Donald Trump and say, make me rich. Or you can't go to some charity and say, I'd like $1 million. We'd all like $1 million, right? But it only means something to you if you go ahead and you make it yourself. And we can all make it ourselves. There's nobody in here who can't make $1 million. Who believes that you can make $1 million? Who believes you can make $1 million by next year? All of a sudden the hands are going down. Where's that faith? Where is it? We said wisdom can't be taught either. It can only be learned. When you're a kid, what? Don't touch the hot stove. Don't run out in the street. Don't hack the school system. Whatever we were told you when you're 6 years old. And as we get older, we find out that there's other things of wisdom. don't do this, don't do that. And as we get, you know, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't, and we realize years later, man, that was a dumb thing to do, why did I do it? A lot of us in the community, some people who crossed the line over to the dark side, got whacked by law enforcement, all of a sudden they're back on the good side again. All right? I managed to avoid the dark side, mostly because of Catholic guilt from my mother. But the point is that it's been said in Zen that when the student is ready, the master will appear. And I say, that's wrong. The Zen master had it wrong. When the student is ready, she'll notice the teacher who has always been there. Because the life lessons have always been there for us. We just haven't been looking for them. We just didn't want to listen to them. Yeah, I know I need to stop smoking. I know I need to stop doing this. But you don't. And eventually when you do, you look back, and my wife was a 2-pack-a-day smoker, and she doesn't smoke anymore, and she's one of those violent anti-smokers or anti-ex-smokers, or however many prefixes you could put in there. And so that lesson had always been there. She finally decided to follow it. All right, how many black Mercedes did you see this week? Precise number, please. Anybody want to bet $100 you get it right or wrong? No. Why? Because you don't know. We got so much information coming in that we have to filter things that we're not paying attention to, or we would go nuts. Just in your visual range, there are so many people, there's little nuances, if someone said paint every pixel of everything you see in your mind, you would go nuts trying to manage that. So what do? We strip out the unimportant stuff, we ignore some of the things, we just focus on those things we're looking for. But if I ask you the same question next week, and you know I'm going to ask you that same question next week, you'll have an answer for me because you're paying attention for it, because you notice what you're looking for. All right, guys, what are you looking at? See, most guys are looking there already. Not up there. Because you're looking for stuff, and that's what you notice. So how do you know what to look for? And I suggest you know what to look for if you find your purpose. What is your purpose in life? Johnny Long published, what, 12 books? The guy was like a Dan Kaminsky type rock star in the industry, and he's now off in almost a subsistence level lifestyle, making a huge difference for other people. He found his purpose. Now, your purpose probably isn't that, but don't confuse purpose with goals, because goals are very specific. They might get you along there, but that's not it. I've run marathons. That's probably, I look like this. But that wasn't my whole purpose in life. Now, if I wanted to get a gold medal in the marathon since I was a little kid, that might be my purpose. But by and large, a lot of the goals we set are incidental to our purposes, or they're incremental to our purposes. But a purpose lends focus because it puts you on a sense of mission. I know what I'm doing, and then I can do it anywhere. I don't have to say, well, when I'm in a big mansion living on the Pacific Ocean with my Ferrari out in the driveway and all these things, then I'll start giving money away to charities. You might not ever get there. If you're going to be the person who helps people out, help out now. And you find out that whatever goal it is that you set, your purpose can still be accomplished because you're living your life the way that you genuinely understand it to be. And there's lots of ways to find this. You try lots of things. Live long enough, you might figure it out. Anybody had more than one job in their life? Or 2, or 3, or 5? Anybody changed jobs more than once or twice in the last year? So what happens? We're trying things. We're trying to figure out what is our purpose in life.